Lauren Ashley was born on April 1st, 1993, in the quiet town of Warren, Massachusetts. An only child, she grew up surrounded by love and support. When she was 6, her parents divorced. But even after the separation, her father remained a constant presence in her life. The two were especially close. At one point, they even traveled together to New Orleans to help with Hurricane Katrina relief efforts. Despite her young age, Lauren joined her father in the cleanup, determined to make a difference. From a young age, Lauren was drawn to sports. She started with soccer, but eventually found her passion in tennis, where she began to see real success. Still, her deepest love was music. She joined the school's music group and regularly performed at local events. During high school, she took on a part-time job at a clothing store in the local mall. She had plans. After graduation, she intended to attend college in North Carolina and was saving money to prepare for the move. Lauren graduated in the summer of 2011 at 18 years old. Knowing her time at home was limited, she spent those final months making memories with friends and family. She was ready to start the next chapter of her life, but that future would never come. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot to us and helps us grow. A huge thank you to everyone who's been watching. On the morning of July 3rd, Lauren Ashley headed off to her shift at the mall like any other day. Before work, she had made plans to meet up with friends later that evening. They expected her to call around 6:30 p.m. She finished her shift, said goodbye to her co-workers, and walked out of the mall. But that call never came. Her friends waited, thinking she was running late. Then they started texting her, calling her, but there was no reply. At first, they figured she was tied up with something and would get back to them soon. But Lauren's father was also growing concerned. She had told him she'd stop by after work, but she never showed. His calls went unanswered too. When he reached out to her friends and realized none of them had heard from her all evening, he didn't wait. He went straight to the police. Warren was a small, quiet town. Lauren's sudden silence made no sense to those who knew her. She had vanished without a word, and no one could think of anywhere she might have gone. The local police quickly launched a search. Not long after, one of Lauren's friends reported spotting her red Jeep parked near a beach by the lake. Officers rushed to the scene. The vehicle was there, but Lauren was not. Inside the car, they found her purse, cell phone, and laptop. The windows were rolled down. The keys were gone, but Lauren had disappeared. The discovery of Lauren Ashley's Jeep raised immediate alarm. Her purse, phone, and laptop were all inside. The windows were down, and Lauren was nowhere to be found. Her friends and family were certain she would never leave her car like that. Her father, panicked, rushed toward the beach and waded into the lake, desperate to find any trace of her. Police searched the vehicle but found no signs of a struggle. No blood, no evidence, no clear indication of what had happened. Officers began canvassing the area around the beach. The only clue they uncovered was Lauren's car keys, found tossed in a nearby storm drain, as if someone had deliberately tried to hide them. As word spread, Lauren's friends began gathering near the beach. Detectives interviewed them, hoping for any lead. That's when they learned about Nathaniel, Lauren's ex-boyfriend. The two had broken up a few months earlier. The friends admitted the split had been hard on him. Concerned, detectives paid Nathaniel a visit that night. He told them he had been home the entire evening. His mother confirmed his story, saying they had watched movies together. For the time being, police ruled him out and turned their attention back to the beach. Lauren's family, neighbors, and dozens of residents joined in the search, combing every inch of the surrounding area. Her friends refused to leave. They stayed beside her car all night, hoping she'd come walking out of the woods, hoping for a miracle. That night, investigators took a closer look at Lauren's phone and discovered something that changed the tone of the case. At exactly 7:05 p.m., Lauren had sent a single-word text to her ex-boyfriend Nathaniel. Here. Just 14 minutes earlier, she had called him. The two had spoken for a few minutes. Detectives immediately returned to Nathaniel for questioning. This time, he admitted that Lauren had come by around 7 p.m., but insisted she never got out of the car. They had a brief conversation about their relationship, and then, he claimed, she drove away. He said he didn't mention this earlier because he thought it was insignificant. Nathaniel remained calm. His demeanor showed no obvious signs of deception. For now, the police moved on, continuing to chase other leads. The search for Lauren pushed through the night, until just after dawn, a chilling call came in. A woman riding her bike along a wooded road near the river had spotted something unusual in a marshy patch of water. She stopped to look and saw a body. Officers responded immediately. When they pulled the body from the water, there was no doubt. It was Lauren Ashley. Wrapped tightly around her neck was a bungee cord, and a deep cut was clearly visible. Medical examiners later confirmed both the wound and strangulation as the cause of death. There were also defensive wounds on Lauren's arms, a sign she fought back. The investigation had just shifted from a missing person to cold-blooded murder. As officers combed the area around the marsh where Lauren's body was found, they made another troubling discovery: a blood-stained towel, partially hidden in the brush. It was immediately collected and sent to the lab for DNA testing. Now facing a murder investigation, detectives refocused their efforts on identifying the killer, and all signs pointed to Nathaniel. Lauren's friends and family began to share more about her relationship with him. The two had started dating 3 years earlier. On the surface, they had seemed like the perfect couple. Nathaniel was from a well-regarded family. He played football, was well-liked, and had no shortage of charm. But beneath that image, trouble had been brewing. Roughly 2 years into the relationship, things began to shift. Nathaniel became possessive and jealous, often trying to dictate who Lauren could spend time with. He also started drinking heavily, and his behavior became more unpredictable. Lauren's friends saw the toll it was taking. They urged her to walk away, and although the couple broke up more than once, they always ended up back together. That changed 3 months before Lauren's death. This time, Lauren ended things for good, and Nathaniel didn't take it well. He begged her to reconsider, showed up uninvited, and flooded her with calls, but Lauren held her ground. The breakup sent Nathaniel into a spiral. He withdrew from everyone, stopped attending football practice, and barely left the house. Detectives now had motive, history, and a timeline that was growing more suspicious by the hour. Despite having earned a coveted sports scholarship, Nathaniel had seemingly lost all interest in his future. He spent his days drinking and smoking at home, sinking deeper into isolation. Concerned, his mother eventually took him to a therapist, who, after several sessions, concluded that Nathaniel was likely suffering from clinical depression. But even as he pulled away from friends and dropped out of his routine, Nathaniel remained fixated on Lauren. One night, Lauren and her friends hosted a graduation party, a celebration filled with classmates, friends, and even parents. Nathaniel arrived drunk. When he saw Lauren talking to other guys, something snapped. He tried to confront her about their relationship, but Lauren shut him down. She was done. Infuriated, Nathaniel stormed off toward the large party tent set up in the yard. In a fit of rage, he punched a support post, nearly causing the entire structure to collapse. Guests rushed to hold it up. Nathaniel was immediately escorted out. Shaken, Lauren broke down in tears and told her mother, "Nathaniel just won't leave me alone." In another troubling encounter, Nathaniel allegedly approached a boy Lauren had been talking to and threatened to kill him. The pattern was clear and escalating. Lauren had tried to set boundaries, but Nathaniel wasn't listening. For detectives, this was now more than just a failed relationship. Nathaniel had a motive, a violent temper, and he was the last known person to see Lauren alive. But there was still one problem: his mother's alibi. As investigators pressed further, a new piece of the puzzle emerged. Security footage from the mall where Lauren worked showed Nathaniel walking through just an hour before her shift ended. He didn't approach her directly, but he was seen visiting a sports nutrition store on the same floor. It was enough to warrant another visit. But when detectives returned to his house, Nathaniel was gone. His parents said he had left earlier that day, and they had no idea where he went. This time, when officers re-questioned his mother, her story changed. She now recalled that she had briefly left the house to run errands, and crucially, during the exact window when Lauren had stopped by. With Nathaniel's alibi now unraveling, the police had what they needed. He was officially the prime suspect. Detectives secured a search warrant and headed straight for the house. In the garage, their eyes immediately locked onto a set of bungee cords, identical to the one found wrapped around Lauren's neck. Then came the breakthrough. Using luminol, forensic techs uncovered a large, scrubbed bloodstain on the garage floor, invisible to the naked eye. More blood traces showed up on the kitchen floor, the door handle, and two separate sinks. Then they opened a sports bag. Inside were muddy, blood-stained sneakers. In Nathaniel's bedroom, a small door led to the attic. There, hidden behind old boxes, officers found another pair of shoes covered in blood, along with wet, filthy clothing. A silent, damning cache of evidence that told the story no one wanted to believe. The items seized from Nathaniel's home were rushed to the lab, and within hours, forensic analysts confirmed the worst. The blood belonged to Lauren. A manhunt began immediately. Just a few hours later, police tracked Nathaniel to his aunt's house. He didn't resist arrest. Calm and emotionless, he was taken into custody. But the interrogation yielded nothing. His parents had already hired an attorney, and Nathaniel refused to speak. He was officially charged with murder, and the case moved to the courts. As detectives prepared for trial, even darker truths came to light. Nathaniel's cousin, who had been with him around the time of his arrest, told investigators about a call she received from him on the night of Lauren's disappearance. He had asked to hang out, saying he needed to clear his head. She was busy that evening, but they met the next day, just as news of Lauren's body was breaking across town. What he said next chilled her to the bone. When she asked if he was involved in the murder, Nathaniel smirked and replied, "They'll never find the murder weapon, if that's what you mean." Then, almost casually, he admitted to driving Lauren's car to the beach, the same place her belongings were found. But perhaps the most heartbreaking discovery was this: Lauren only agreed to meet him that evening because of his mother. Earlier that day, she had shown up at Lauren's workplace, pleading with her to talk to Nathaniel, worried about his state of mind. She had no idea her request would set into motion the final moments of Lauren's life. While Nathaniel remained behind bars without bail, his defense attorney revealed a controversial legal strategy. they would pursue a not guilty verdict, not by denying the crime, but by arguing that Nathaniel had suffered a mental breakdown so severe he could not be held criminally responsible. If the court accepted that argument, Nathaniel wouldn't go to prison, but instead face mandatory psychiatric treatment, potentially followed by release in just a few years. The trial began on February 13, 2013, a year and a half after Lauren's murder. The prosecution laid out a devastating timeline, arguing that not only was Nathaniel fully aware of what he was doing, but that the crime was premeditated and carefully executed. According to the state's case, Nathaniel planned the entire evening. He told Lauren to meet him after her shift, knowing his parents would be out, and specifically instructed her not to park at his house, but on a nearby street. This, prosecutors argued, was to avoid drawing attention from neighbors or family. Once Lauren arrived, he lured her into the garage where he stabbed and strangled her. Then, he drove her Jeep to the lakeside beach, ditched her keys in a storm drain, and walked home. Later that night, Nathaniel loaded Lauren's body into the trunk of his own car, drove out to a swampy marsh, and dumped her remains in the water, hoping the currents would erase the crime. Then he returned home and began cleaning up the blood. One of the most damning moments came from a key witness who saw Nathaniel that same evening. The man recalled seeing him shirtless, blasting music from his car, returning from the direction of the swamp. The timeline was clear, the intent was undeniable, and the jury was watching. Nathaniel's defense team never denied the central fact. He had taken Lauren's life. But in court, they argued the killing was the result of a temporary psychotic break, claiming Nathaniel was in such a dissociative state that he couldn't control his actions. To support this theory, several expert witnesses testified. They noted that Nathaniel had a family history of schizophrenia, a factor that may have predisposed him to mental instability. On top of that, his years of playing football had exposed him to repeated head trauma, and he had long struggled with severe depression. Nathaniel himself told psychologists that during the murder, it felt like he was watching his actions from outside his body, unable to stop himself. But the prosecution pushed back hard. They argued that no psychotic episode could explain the deliberate, calculated series of events that followed Lauren's death. According to the evidence, Nathaniel had lured her to his home, murdered her, disposed of her body, cleaned the crime scene, and hid his clothing. These weren't the impulsive actions of someone in a mental fog. They were the hallmarks of premeditation. The jury agreed. They returned a verdict of guilty, and the judge sentenced Nathaniel to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But what happened next stunned everyone in the courtroom. Lauren's father walked over to Nathaniel's parents and embraced them. Later, he would explain that although they stood on opposite sides of the tragedy, they too had lost a child that day. In the wake of the trial, Lauren's father established a foundation in her name. Its mission, to educate teens about toxic relationships, warning signs of abuse, and the importance of speaking out before it's too late. There was, however, a final twist in the legal story. In 2021, the Supreme Court ruled that individuals under the age of 20 could not be sentenced to life without parole. Nathaniel had been exactly 20 when sentenced, meaning he might someday be eligible for a parole hearing. So far, no motion has been filed. Lauren's family reacted with anguish. Her mother said plainly, "He took our daughter's life. He should never have the chance to live his own freely again." For now, Nathaniel remains behind bars, but the scars he left on Lauren's family and their small Massachusetts town will never fully heal. Be sure to let us know what you think of the story in the comments below. And if you like this video, smash the like button and don't forget to subscribe. A playlist is going to pop up right now with more videos you'll love. See you guys next time.